Welcome to This Explainer. We're diving straight into a story today that is, well, it's honestly going to make your jaw drop. We're unpacking the deeply personal, truly shocking story of a 34-year-old guy named Ryan Carter. It's a journey through hidden lies, an absolute gut punch of a betrayal, and ultimately a pretty incredible story of reclaiming your own life. It asks a really tough question. What actually happens when the person you trust most in the entire world leaves behind a secret that just shatters your whole reality? Let's get into it.
Okay, picture this scene. It's just 3 days, literally 3 days, after Ryan's wife, Jessica, has tragically passed away in a sudden car accident. He's grieving, completely broken, and he's sitting at the reading of her will. The lawyer slides the keys to her private, countryside cabin across the desk and just drops these 3 heavy words. Now, it's yours.
Now, handing over some keys might sound totally normal, right? But here's the thing. This instantly sets up a chilling mystery. Because while she was alive, Jessica had strictly forbidden Ryan from ever visiting this place. No way, no how. She always claimed it was just this old, rustic family cabin, a quiet retreat strictly for writing and unwinding alone. He was never allowed to step foot on the property. So why the intense secrecy? With those keys finally in his hands, Ryan knows deep down, something just doesn't feel right.
Let's look at part 1, the loyal husband and 11 years of devotion. To really wrap our heads around the magnitude of what he's about to discover, we first have to understand Ryan's unwavering devotion. For over a decade, this guy was the fiercely loyal husband. When Jessica's marketing career started taking off, Ryan stepped up without a second thought. He gladly took on the domestic duties, cooked the dinners, managed the house, just so she could focus entirely on her dreams. He even put his own ambitions on hold. And when her dad got sick, it was Ryan driving him to every single doctor's appointment. He never asked for a thing in return. He genuinely believed, hey, this is just what real supportive love looks like.
And because he loved her, he respected her boundaries, even the frankly bizarre ones. For over a decade, he totally adhered to her one ironclad rule about that cabin. Whenever he'd casually offer to tag along just to keep her company, she would get visibly irritated. She'd turn it around on him, accusing him of not trusting her, saying she desperately needed this private space for her creativity. So, being the supportive partner, he just stopped pushing.
Moving on to part 2, opening the door and the investigation.
Everything obviously shifted after Jessica's sudden death. Now he's inherited this mysterious cabin. So instead of just selling it sight unseen, the grief-stricken husband finally drives up to the property alone. He parks, takes a deep breath, and turns the key. The door opens with a heavy creak, but instead of hitting a wall of musty dust and old wood like you'd expect from a rustic writer's retreat, he's immediately hit with the smell of fresh linen and her favorite perfume. He flicks on the lights, and his stomach just drops.
The place was huge, vastly bigger than she ever described. Instead of a simple desk and a lumpy cot, this cabin was a fully furnished luxury hideaway. We're talking modern furniture, a massive fireplace, expensive art. But the luxury wasn't the worst part. It was the belongings. The closet was stuffed with men's clothes, and spoiler alert, they weren't his. Designer watches, shoes, colognes scattered everywhere. On the desk, he finds photos of Jessica looking incredibly happy with another man. And right next to those, love letters, hotel receipts, and a secret journal.
Which brings us to part 3, the devastating truth inside that journal.
So the physical items were an absolute gut punch, no doubt. But the true depth of the deception, that was meticulously documented in Jessica's own handwriting. Think about this contrast. For 11 years, Ryan firmly believed he was the rock of a loving partnership, making sacrifices to build a beautiful life together. But reading her words, Jessica was living a completely different reality. She wrote about feeling trapped. She literally called him too ordinary and too boring for her new, successful social circle. She even wrote down that she was planning to leave him the second her current big project at work ended.
To put this into perspective, let's look at the timeline. 11 years of marriage. And for the last 5 of those years, nearly half of the entire marriage, she was living a complete double life. While Ryan was at home, cooking dinner, genuinely thinking she was working late or out with friends, she was at this luxury cabin with her lover. 11 years of loyalty and sacrifice totally undermined by a 5-year secret life. And all of this is crashing down on him just 3 days after her funeral.
All right, part 4, taking back control. Let's talk about his reaction.
He sits there for hours, reading every single page of that journal. And in that moment, Ryan is faced with a choice that will define the rest of his life. Through all that blinding, overwhelming pain, something inside him just shifted. He didn't scream, he didn't smash things up or make a massive scene in an empty cabin. Actually, his pain crystallized into this incredibly cold, unbreakable determination. He systematically executed a plan. He took photographic evidence of every single thing in that cabin, packed up the secret journal, and drove straight back home. Right then and there, he chose to take his power back.
And finally, Part 5, Life on the Other Side.
Ryan's methodical approach certainly didn't stop when he left the cabin. Back home, he systematically dismantled all the lies governing his life. And this is brilliant. He used the very asset that funded her betrayal, the luxury cabin itself, sold it, and used that money to finally launch his own dream business. The exact dream he had put on the back burner for her. He told his close friends and family the unvarnished truth, not to be vindictive, but simply because he refused to carry the weight of her lies anymore. Oh, and the best part? When Jessica's lover actually had the nerve to contact Ryan demanding some items she supposedly promised him, Ryan didn't even argue. He just mailed the guy copies of Jessica's journal. Talk about a power move.
Fast forward to today. Ryan still lives in their old house, but he says it finally, truly feels like his own. He travels when he wants, works on his own terms, and his ultimate victory? He says, "I trust my own instincts now." Jessica totally assumed she could hide her secret forever and that if he ever found out, he'd just stay quiet and broken. Well, she was entirely wrong.
Ryan's journey leaves us with this incredibly powerful reflection. Choose to face the truth instead of hiding from it. Facing a devastating reality, no matter how terrifying it is to turn that key, is often the ultimate catalyst for your own empowerment. Hiding just prolongs the pain, but stepping through that door, that is where your strength actually begins.
If you are going through a betrayal right now, or if you've ever been deeply lied to by someone you trusted, remember the core takeaway of this explainer. The truth always, always surfaces, but your transformation, your resilience, and the strength you build from the wreckage, that is entirely in your hands. Thank you so much for joining us for this one, and we'll see you next time.